For those who do not know me, my name is Gordon. Today we mourn values that passed on before their time during the federal election of 2012 in the United States of America. This is a tragic moment for all of us. These values represented the best of Americans. Though kept alive with our hopes, dreams, and hard work over centuries, they grew ill will starting on January 3, 2012, only to finally pass on August 30th. It took until early November to piece them together and finally pay honorable respects. Propriety, born on July 4th with its siblings integrity and civility, shared the longest and most prosperous of lives. Embodied by the Declaration of Independence, propriety promised that all men were created equal with the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. While on life support since September 2001, propriety finally faded with the demand of private information from presidential candidates. Today, no one is sacred. We are one nation under surveillance. While civility, behavior between persons and groups following common norms, was in constant conflict with propriety, as all siblings are, they somehow maintained a consistent balance lasting centuries, satisfying the needs of privacy while still conforming to a minimal standard needed to enforce order. Civility faced tough times in the 1860s and again in the 1960s, yet endured until January 2011 with an attempt on the life of a member of Congress, then finally died in January 2012 with their retirement. Today, politicians and even ordinary people continue to receive death threats for simply daring to speak their minds. This great nation rose on the bedrock of integrity, that one could count on one's neighbors in times of crisis. Indeed, the late 1700s might have ended quite differently without this value. No one questions the motives of a George Washington or a Thomas Jefferson, yet ordinary people of influence would slander the name of a Ronald Reagan or a John Kennedy, claiming scandalous acts and ideas because of past actions or even outright falsehoods. Today, no one trusts a politician, because we ensure to instill distrust in them every election, which makes me wonder why we ask them to represent us at all. Only a few years younger than their elder siblings, pragmatism and compromise built on their elders' work, embodied in the most sacred of American texts, the United States Constitution. Pragmatism was responsible for uniting the disparaging ideologies of the original 13 colonies for their greater good, adapting ideas to fit the reality of the day. Having fallen ill since 2009 trying to improve the quality of life for all, many have denounced pragmatism for the sake of their own ends, rather than adapt the new ideas to their reality. No one budges today, and pragmatism died this year. Indeed, outsiders wonder how the United States stays united without it. If pragmatism was the goal, compromise was the catalyst, a natural twin sibling. Compromise was the mechanism to support and build the Constitution. Those with wisdom used it when necessary and never otherwise. For compromise could cause trouble if misused. Compromise saved the United States in the 1870s, and again in the 1970s, though it was nearly misused in 1962. Not using it caused compromise to fall to injury in 2011, finally to pass on this year, brutalized by a so-called dysfunctional Congress. While the youngest sibling, embodied by the 19th Amendment, respect was responsible for the largest improvement in our quality of life, a natural extension of its siblings. Respect was always there even before 1920, if in spirit. There are even rumors it is much older and actually immigrated from Manitoba in 1916. Respect had a terminal illness from birth, however, which had festered over decades. It finally passed over mutterings like legitimate rape and self-defense, and passed on in sorrow and disgust. While other values will survive their passing, our country is poorer for their loss. Without their balance, it is possible it will tear itself apart with their sibling rivalry. It is my hope that it does not. If there is an afterlife for human values or a rebirth, I pray for their safe return. These values are especially survived by satire, which reminds us not to take productions like this too seriously, levity, which reminds us to laugh at ourselves from time to time, and irony, which reminds us that it took a Canadian to mourn the loss of American values.